This episode is brought to you by listeners like you, our intergalactic fuel, and the boost behind this mic. Thanks for supporting our cosmic journey through the universe of sci-fi. On this episode of the podcast. And boy, that was the most craziest thing I've seen. And I'm like, thinking about how people interpret that at the time. And probably that's part of the reason why the ratings were that great. Because this is totally, out there, right? Yeah, that happened. You're not going to want to miss this one.
Prepare for warp speed as we embark on a voyage through the vast expanse of science fiction in movies and television series. From distant planets to alien civilizations, we delve into the heart of the unknown, unraveling the tales that have captivated audiences for generations. Get ready to unlock the secrets of the universe on CodeFlix.
Welcome to CodeFlix, where we analyze sci-fi and fantasy TV shows and movies through the lens of reality. I'm your host, Andre Bonner, and today I'm so elated to unpack the original Star Trek series in 1966, Season 1. And we're boldly going where no one has gone before, for sure. This series has often been described as being ahead of its time, and after watching it for myself, I can confidently say that it absolutely was. Even today, many of the themes and ideas explored in the series remain surprisingly relevant. My journey with this show actually began during some late night TV sessions on CVM. Back then, I'd tell myself I was only staying up for one more program, only to find myself still awake when the sun was coming up. Maybe that's why I can't stay up at all, these days. I used to, can't do it again. I watch classics like Green Acres, Gilligan's Island, and many others. But then came something different. Star Trek, the original series. I had already been introduced to the franchise through the Star Trek Generations series, so discovering that there was an entire universe of stories stretching back decades was a pleasant surprise. What started as a curiosity quickly turned into appreciation for a series that wasn't just telling stories about science fiction and space exploration. It was using science fiction to examine humanity itself. The original series boldly tackled issues of prejudice, war, diplomacy, technology, and what it meant to be human, all wrapped in adventures around the stars. For a television show from the 1960s, many of its messages were remarkably forward-thinking. So, join me as we dive into the groundbreaking sci-fi classic more than half a century after its debut. Star Trek, the original series, continues to inspire, challenge, and remind us to boldly go where no one has gone before. Star Trek is an American science fiction television series created by Gene Roddenberry. that follows the adventures of the starship USS Enterprise and its continuing mission. I had to say that, right? And its crew. It acquired the retronym of Star Trek The Original Series, TOS, to distinguish the show within the media franchise that it began. The show is set in the Milky Way galaxy, circa 2266 to 2269 years from now in the future. The ship and crew are led by Captain James T. Kirk, played by William Shatner, the first officer and science officer Spock, played by Leonard Nimoy, and chief medical officer Leonard H. Bones McCoy, played by DeForest Kelly. Each episode starts with the "Where No Man Has Gone Before" speech. Very popular, right? Norway Productions and Desilu Productions produced the series from September 1966 to December 1967. Paramount Television produced the show from January 1968 to June 1969. Now, Star Trek aired on NBC from September 8, 1966 to June 1969. It was first broadcast on September 6, 1966 on Canada's CTV network, while on NBC, Star Trek Nielsen's ratings were low and the network canceled it after 3 seasons and 79 episodes. In the United Kingdom, the series was not broadcast until July 12, 1969. When it was shown on the BBC One television network, coinciding with the Apollo 11 mission to land the first humans on the moon, through broadcast syndication, it became an international success in the 1970s, achieving cult classic status and a developing influence on popular culture. Star Trek eventually spawned a media franchise consisting of 13 television series, 14 feature films, and numerous book, games, and toys, and now widely considered one of the most popular and influential TV series of all time. I mean, I say that with water in my mouth. Ooh, dun, 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 ta-na-na, ta-na-na, dun, 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 dun. These are my personal insights and interpretations of Star Trek Season 1 original series, guys. We're here at it. So, before I jump into the actual deep dive, I just have to say that, this series, it just is overall different, right? We all know, right? But one of the things that stands out so much is because of its reference. It's being referenced in a lot of other sci-fi shows and cartoons, right? Me as a man who love for watch me little cartoons them sometime, Futurama, Family Guy, even The Simpsons, they all reference Star Trek, right? And in such fancy ways, right? So I would have been coming up with, with some of these cartoons, not knowing where some of the things came from, you know what I'm saying? And then now I'm able to put that together because I have, watched Star Trek more than once. And, you know what I'm saying? Getting the references them know, So when I originally started the podcast, right, the idea was to do Star Trek. But I found that because I wasn't totally finished where I was at with it, the episodes, it wasn't going to do it much justice. So, of course, we would have changed the format on the podcast itself in terms of, just breaking them down by the seasons, right? Because it's a lot less strenuous and, I can actually touch on some of the meaty points, right? And even this season one, has 29 episodes, and I'm going to have to find some way to deliver them in a format that is good for you to consume because yeah, I know that you guys don't like long form stuff, right? So I'm gonna try and condense some other stuff as I'm try to so if you like it, you let me know, right? That's essentially what I'm trying to say. So a few things to start off. Captain Kirk is probably the smartest, right? When he doesn't have, too much female around him, right? Yeah. Spock is not just cold, hard logic, right? It might seem that way, sometimes, eh? Bones is sometimes too quick for diagnose, right? Yeah, I'm talking from even a science standpoint, yeah, and kind of too quick for diagnose, Yeah. Scotty, right? He's always giving it all he's got. I'm giving it all I got, Captain. You know, poor impression of him. You know, O'Hara. Wow, the only female in the group, right in the main cast is definitely always receiving a signal. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah, and we're gonna talk about some of those things too. Yeah, so sit back and relax and enjoy the rest of the deep dive. Episode 1, The Man Trap. So we are introduced to the cast, and the different characters on the Starship Enterprise. And then we see them visiting a planet, right? M113, right? 113. It's supposed to be a routine medical examination, right? Because there's a husband and wife archaeology team, right? Some scientists, whether they have been, basically studying the planet and all of these things, right? But unbeknownst to the crew, there is a shape-shifting creature, right? Who turns out to be the man's wife, right? Now, what is so interesting about this shape-shifting creature is that it loves salt. Yeah, it loves salt, and human body, as we get to understand, and this is a real statistic, is composed of some amount of salt. And if you remove the salt from one's body, by a certain process, you die. So this creature, it starts killing off, the crew, right? The crew that's on the landing party. They are unaware because it can shapeshift, so it shapeshifts into one of the crew members and gets aboard the Enterprise, gets beamed aboard, and it goes off in search of salt. End up follow one of the crew members, them, the female crew member. I can't remember her name. She blonde, and she always move about here and about. She basically seem like she does errands and stuff for them, right? The creature goes with her to where Sulu is, right? And the creature, of course, it behave very, very erratic, right? Especially when it's faced with another alien. There's an alien plant, right? That seems to be able to sense that the creature is there and thing. Even I try to alert the rest of the crew, Solo, I wonder why the creature, why him plant a move so. The creature ends up harming a few more crew members on board, and they're this whole thing of them trying to figure out, because one of the things about the creature as well is that it's able to make the men or anybody feel a certain way about it, like, you don't want, it's like an old love, old flame, right? You remember that girl from high school that you liked, and it's almost like that, it's like they're looking at the creature like that, not being able to resist the creature's charms basically until the creature suck them dry and kill them, right? McCoy gets infatuated with the creature to a point where even when Captain Kirk come to him and say, "Hey, yo, it's a creature," right? And thing is like, "Yo, no, she say the woman, and thing." And when Captain Kirk attempts to attack the creature to, help McCoy snap out of it, McCoy end up fighting Kirk, and that leads into the next part where basically they were unable to get on a common ground, but eventually McCoy, realizing what he did to Kirk, he turns on the creature, and then the creature's real form is revealed. And boy, that was the most craziest thing I've seen. And I'm like, thinking about how people interpret that at the time, and probably that's part of the reason why the ratings were that great. Because like, yo, this is totally out there, right? Yeah. So the creature design was off the charts, and even for a 1960s show where they're using certainly special effects and not having anything like CGI and morphing the body and all of that, it was done well, so yeah, I can see why it was considered one of those better episodes. Episode 2, Charlie X. So the Enterprise happens to meet up with another ship. That ship is a similar crew, class of vessel and stuff. And there's this young man that comes over with the captain and his first officer. And from off the bat, you realize say the young man is strange, because the two captain them attack and him keep butting in. You know what I'm saying? And not within his turn. That even Captain Kirk realized, and him turned to him, well, young Charlie, you have to just wait your turn. You know what I'm saying? Respect due, because we're there at talk. We're trying to finish the conversation and stuff. And, just the way how the other captain and his first officer, they almost seem like they can't resist to make Charlie, take Charlie at his word, whatever Charlie say, So it's like, yes, Charlie, So we get to realize, say, the story is that this youth spent 14 years alone on a deserted planet, right? And by himself. He's 17, right? So that means that he would have been, 3 years old, when he was last. I'm doing the calculation in my head a while ago, wondering if it's right. So he has no training, he never learned anything and stuff. So he does to them it might, they were brushing it off to think that, hey, probably the way how he is because he hasn't had to interact with any other human being, in a long while. And the surprising thing was that him said that him learned from some tapes that were left in the data banks, So that's why him learned to talk and and all of that. And they will realize that that's not the only thing about Charlie. Charlie has some supernatural mental powers, right? And he is not afraid to use it because he definitely use it, right? And he's doing some stuff. Him get infatuated with the same woman from the previous episode that I mentioned, the blonde one that goes to and fro. I really need to have her name, but he gets infatuated to her in such a way that when time she'll walk away, him slap her on her backside. Yeah. I mean, this episode does like take a different turn because 1960s, you're not expect them thing in a 1960s show. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, a confrontation occurs because this youth keep doing certain things and awkward situations and him not understand how to regulate him feelings as a teenager and him feel like people are laugh off him and about to laugh off him, so him just make them go away. And I mean, like, him make them disappear. We don't know where they went, right? But we know them gone, right? The Captain Kirk realized, say, boy, Charlie, I do all of these things now. And the man say, yo, Charlie, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And thing. Yeah. And, them even goes to the lengths of trying to get him to confine to quarters. He does listen to Kirk, right? But him a push back. And even Spock have to say to him, say, yo, Captain, say, you have to talk to him good because you want to know him going to come to a point where him won't just take what you say. You know what I'm saying? Him not gonna just be obedient just because you say, you know? So and Captain say, yeah, I realize that for true, And that happens in the next scene right after that because Charlie come in and thing and say something to him and him, and Captain push back on him like, no, that not gonna happen. Me in control and I can do what I want. And him just make everybody go away, him for go away. It's like, Charlie, where are my crew, and I'm like, you're not gonna know, me not tell you. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, may I take over your ship. And he starts to use his powers even more to control the ship. And what we start to realize is that this drains him, right? The crew also starts to realize that that is his weakness as well. So they set up on a plan for basically push him to use more of his mental powers so that him can get drained, so that them can have an opening for stop him, right? And he kept, they kept doing it and thing and back and forth and thing. So till eventually, yeah. But before that, I must mention, so that ship that he came off of before, when the Enterprise realized that some things were going on and stuff, them just try to find out from them some, have some queries about what happened and thing. Charlie make the ship go away. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I believe at that point everybody was like, yo, the ship destroyed, right? Because them check the scopes and ship destroyed. So yeah, at the point of Charlie, using up all of his mental abilities now and being overwhelmed, they're able to get back control of certain things and stuff because they got some help from some beings. Them just show up, right? There's this talking head, basically, like a holographic projection that just shows up on the bridge and start talking to them and tell them, say, yo, you know, actually start talking to Charlie, tell him, say, yo, listen, I take you back, you need to go back and things. Like, Charlie's like, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go. It's like, I'll be good. I'll be good. You know what I'm saying? Right there, about beg. Cause I know what them come find out. They know, say, them come feed. So at that point, they're like, yo, this nah go cut it, you know what I'm saying? You're coming. You know what I'm saying? And what the captain have to say, him can't say anything. The only thing he can say is him glad for have him and thing, and he hope he learn. You know what I'm saying? Him can learn more because them said them teach him certain things, right? They were the ones who teach him how to control stuff and all of that. But apparently his training ain't complete. So of course they take him away and thing, and yeah, the Enterprise is saved, once more. Yeah. Of course, as I mentioned, the other ship that didn't reappear. So not everything was great, and stuff. And this is one of the things about the series Star Trek. For that time, for say, boy, yo, you're gonna end on such a note where, yeah, say, boy, things don't recover like, oh, you'd expect. People get lost, right? Ships get damaged. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like, oh, them get magicked back. You know what I'm saying? Ex machina is the word, right? That you don't have them returning back to the beginning. No. It happened and there are consequences to certain actions. Yeah. Episode 3. Where no man has gone before. So, like many episodes, this one starts out with the crew basically exploring somewhere, right? They're on an adventure to based on a distress call, right? Now, the SSS Valiant would have been lost at some point, and so they encounter, I guess, the wreckage basically, and they find the disaster recorder, right? Which they immediately bring aboard, right? Without doing any other checks or anything, them just bring it aboard, right? So the crew of the ship, they are going through, checking emergency stations because also there's something going on now. The Enterprise approaches the barrier and they find themselves in a very, very weird situation, right? Because they encounter one magnetic storm, right? And basically, this is almost like, a parallel to being on the sea and you get caught in some kind of hurricane or storm out there on the sea. So that's essentially what is happening basically for them, right? They have to be responding to various things. As I mentioned, the crew have to be moving very quickly to get things done. All right. They go through the computer records and then find some stuff about ESP, right, in humans, and then get a Dr. Denner's opinion, right? Now, the other major player in this would be like Gary Mitchell. Now, Gary Mitchell is a longtime friend of the captain and team, and he ends up being at the center of this now because he gets struck along with Dr. Derner. They both get struck by something, right? Something strange, right? And that, causes him to go weak and thing, right? So carry him to sick bay, of course, and thing. And them say, boy, we need for just a full medical workup on you, McCoy, Dr. McCoy, him, I make sure I say him do due diligence, right? They notice that Gary's eyes are now silver. So then change from, because he's a white man, right? So he changed from the blue, right? The blue eyes to silver, right? So there is a lot of questions now because I wonder what's happening to Gary. And at the same time, Dr. Dinner, she can tell and him start to show some signs of having ESP, right? Hence the whole thing about having ESP in humans and so on. Because him start read their mind, right? Before them even talk and what they're thinking, he knows, right? So them not have anything, no, them wondering what's going on, you know? In the briefing room now, Kirk, I look for say boy, we need to see what's going on because something very strange are going on with Mitchell. And at the same time, he has taken slowly by slowly, he might take control of the enterprise using his mind, right? So him even show them what him can do and how him can manipulate certain things, Them try to even restrain him, right? So that Dr. Dana can tranquilize him at one point. And can I tell you if that worked or not? It didn't work, right? Because them get to take him off and thing, carry him, to the transport room, and him say, "You fools! Soon I will squash you like bugs." More insects he might have said, but yeah, you know, him get sedated once again, and then them transport him down to one holding cell right in the facility, medical department. Right, and of course, this doesn't hold him for long. Mitchell attempts to escape, right? Yep. So when them a try to sort out some of the things them on the enterprise and thing, Dr. Danner, she go talk to Mitchell, right? Now, him basically a plea to Dr. Danner because she did, get piece of the thing and him a tell her say she can get the full ESP powers and stuff, kind of entice her into it and thing. So she even tell the guys them say, hey, listen, I'm going to stay on Delta Vega with Mitchell, just to make sure say I'm all right. But Kirk said, listen, you need to come back to your ship. She said, she nah better come back to your ship. And then, little after that now, there's a whole confrontation between Mitchell and Kirk, right? In Bossa a beam off a man thing, and essentially that never work against Mitchell, right? He uses the phaser and that not work. So him tell the captain say, time to pray. Captain, pray to me. Pray that you die easily. And of course, say boy, he have the upper hand because he have all of these powers and stuff. Right? Of course, they had to make Kirk fight Mitchell, right? Them have to get him in a fight, right? And in wrestle and tussle with him. Now, Dr. Dana would have gotten some of the abilities, I guess, but not the full gamut, because she can only do a few things. And, they were trying to convince her that, listen, look at how he might behave. He might behave like him one, and him now really business boy you. Him only want him. You're only a means to an end. He want to keep you with him for that reason, right? So in the final confrontation, they were able to snap Dana out of it. She realized that Mitchell inhuman and it might get very, very dangerous. So she helped Kirk by blasting Mitchell with some of her power, right? Which stun him for a little while in order for attack her now and thing. Now the battle between the two of them drained them significantly, right? And the captain have to use that time now to get the farmer friend down to the ground, pummel him, right? And the captain basically I said, listen, I have to do this, you know what I'm saying? With him uniform torn and beaten and thing. Him basically, apologize for what him doing and thing. So it's sad that Gary Mitchell, died, but it had to happen that way because he wasn't gonna stop, right? Episode 4, The Naked Time. So one disease caused the research team on PSI 2000 to behave irrationally, right? So one of the crew members who was investigating the research place research base find say you have persons in a shower beard like say them no care. Yeah, you have a man standing near to one thing there when not supposed to stand a very hazardous situation in there, and all of that. So yeah, there's some weird stuff going on. Now, one of the landing party, unbeknownst to him, right? The science advisor on the mission, he gets infected. So having been infected now, him go back on board, not knowing, right? The thing enter him hand, and it's like, him basically was just like looking at his hand, looking at his fingers and so on, and realize, it's almost like him I said, something not going on with his hand, but him not know what. Then him start to act very strangely, him going into places where, not usually go, following people into different areas of the ship. That while them are doing investigation to find out what really happened on the research base, we get to realize him it get passed on to other persons, right? Other crew members on the ship and thing, and them start very erratic, very irrational behavior and thing. And eventually they have to basically retake the ship because he has control of it. He has taken control of it by, using what he knows. Under there do some annoying things like, singing. You know what I'm saying? I think then there is a moment where Nurse Chapelle, she professes her love for Spock. Then there's a moment where Spock finds some graffiti saying, love mankind, right? Very disturbing graffiti, you know what I'm saying? The captain him get infected, and so McCoy have to rip Kirk uniform shirt for cure him, right? For stab him with the antidote. Can I figure out the antidote? Just in time, right? Because basically a whole heap of things that go down and thing. Yeah, the whole thing with that, you know what I'm saying? So we see where when Kirk got very irrational, we recognize something up because know him even go after him beautiful human, right? The same blonde lady that I tell about, but we still don't remember her name, right? But she always do the errands and stuff, as I said, and she wearing the red jumper, I guess. and she, you know what I'm saying, because it's the 1960s, so back then them used to do some things on screen where nowadays you'd say you'd cry for old man that and say nah, that's assault, that is assault. The man, hold her and grab her, you know what I'm saying, like say, you know what I'm saying, woman have no control over herself, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So those are the things that usually happen with those things. Yeah. And it is at this point in which I even look at this series as being like, yo, one of those forgotten or unforgotten gems, in that them try to tell a good story despite some of the blatant stuff that you see there, right? But at the end of the day, it try to tell a good story, something that's entertaining, right? But also, in a way, it kind of educates you about certain things, because, you know, we as human beings, we not got us, or we should not, I should imply, we should not be just going into a situation, not knowing what happened, and, just leaving it at that. You know what I'm saying? Because it could be many different things can happen, infections and all sort of something. So it's one of those things as well. Episode 5, The Enemy Within. Solo and the team are stranded on a planet with frigid nights, right? So all that happened now is that the team end up going down to this planet. Them, do some research on the planet. They already are aware that, cause they give us by exposition that, hey, that planet here, it have very warm days, but when the nights them come, right, when the earth, the planet rotate, right, the nights are frigid cold, right, and you don't want to get trapped on it. So said, so done, right? Because what happens is that there is this, I don't even know what to call it, but it's almost like an infection basically that infects any living organic in transport, right? So it's some kind of transporter malfunction, while it's some kind of thing that they picked up on the planet, right? That never happened to them on any other planet, right? So they might do the research and thing, realizing that they only have a few more hours until darkness falls and frigid night. Kirk would have been there with them, Captain Kirk, and he ends up getting beamed back onto the ship, right? Because he just oversee that part there and thing, and now he need to get back onto the ship to do some other things, right? And he beams back onto the ship, but then we realize him not look too good, like he ready to fall over, faint. But he walks out of the room. So and them ask him if you're okay, Captain, and he's like, yeah, me kinda, me feel okay, and thing. And then, like a minute later, when nobody else is in the transporter room, we see another incoming transmission, and it is another Kirk, another Captain Kirk, and this one is definitely not the regular one, because you see the way how I don't know, the way how they make him up, do the makeup on him, and just in just turn around at the camera at that point in time. I mean, that to me was wild. And I mean, even for now, if you do something like that, say something I go down, right? It's not just the regular thing. So yeah, we get to see that he might go around that particular Kirk in let's call him Kirk B. Kirk B is going around doing some very aggressive stuff. He's very aggressive in his language, in the way he move, right? So he got to Dr. McCoy, and Dr. McCoy I say, what's up with you and thing and Riri? And him say, give me brandy. And him like, what you want? He's like, I said, give me brandy. So might be like, yo, very, very aggressive with him. And then there's him and Janice. Janice is her name. I never remember her name till now. Now, Janice, she is the same woman that I've been describing, the blonde hair, rear and red, right? That she and Captain Kirk have been basically having this will they won't they kind of moment. Now the Captain Kirk B him no fit from her because what in grab her and put on one piece upon her, you see. And initially it's almost like she's surprised, right? And it's almost like at the same time she's like, I'm a captain this, no, we can't be doing this, you know what I'm saying? So say stuff are going on, right? She scratches him on the cheek, right? And thing. Now she ends up realizing say, I know him is a different Kurt because them realize after a while say something are going on. One of them thing there. And they when they were writing this episode, I guess they decided say, all right, we need a way if it visually represents two different Kirks, right? So A is gonna wear one green looking something that up to this time I've never seen him really wear, right? Only probably one time alone I've ever seen him wear that particular outfit uniform. And then the B was just wearing the one that we saw him on the in the episode beginning. So we could visually see that it's two different Kirks plus B got a scratch from Janice. Now, at that point, now we say, all right, yeah, it's gonna be easy for them to find out. But of course, them just continue to go on like, hey, we don't even know if it's Kirk. Are you? Are no? And are you? You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying it though because of what I've been exposed to. But probably, you tell me if you were fooled by the different disguises or different ways that them kind of make him look different, right? Now they are able to, with the help of the crew, they're able to subdue Kurt B because him that go on with a whole heap of things and at one point, almost him damaged part of the ship, right? Which is important now for transmitting persons aboard the ship. Now, up to that point, they couldn't transport because they weren't sure what would happen if they transported other humans again and them don't know how to fix the issue because they realized it is an issue because them transport one dog looking thing because they tried to make alien out of a dog, right? Yeah, it's very obvious that this is a dog, okay? But anyways, let's just stay in the reality. So it's an alien, right? So this creature, and so them, have the creature come up, and when they realize the creature, I'm like, oh, something wrong with the creature. You know what I'm saying? And then them test the thing and realize that them can't do anything else. So at that point, when he blasted the thing that they need for transmit people back on board, yeah, things got even more dire, right? So Kurt B, him, them sedate him, have him in a sick bay and thing, and Kirk A, he apparently they want to make it a parallel for say, all right, you need both halves of yourself because Kirk B is very content, is very decisive, while A is not content and is indecisive, right? So when them are present him with facts and thing, usually Kirk is able to say, all right, let's do this. We're gonna do this. Kirk A is like, guys, we need a help. I don't know what to decide. And they're like, no, but you're the captain. And at that point, I'm like, hold up. Wait a minute. Said the man infected. There's no way him can carry out him captain the duties. Even if him seems sane and can talk, that something gone wrong. Why not make Spock take control at that point? He's second in command. He should take control at that point. But then I watch the other episode and I see why certain things would not work out the way I was thinking initially. So I reserve that for the other episodes that I comment on. So they perform a test with the creature, the same two creature them, because them say, all right, them fix the thing there, right? And it's always that they can't fix it right away, you know, and it's going to take hours upon hours. So it did take a little while, yes, but they were able to fix it in good enough time for, you know, for test it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying, you know, let's use the creatures, right? So they put the creature to sleep, right? The one that is rabid, and put it beside the other one, put it in the transporter, and they did it. It came back as one, but it was dead. He's dead, Jim. That's where that meme comes from, if you don't know, right? He's dead, Jim. It's dead, Jim. You know what I'm saying? That's where the meme come from, right? Anyways, so the Captain Sulu, up to this point, has been in constant communication, and as things get worse and worse and worse, and Kirk A, as I mentioned, he's very indecisive and him having a hard time because him can't make up his mind, right? He is fearless, right? Him still having fearlessness with him, and the B is very afraid. And at one point, basically have to talk B into helping him to keep, fear under control. So, Tula are dead, as I mentioned just now, right? And Kirk A makes a very irrational decision. All of a sudden, him just out of the blue, right? Because of all that's been happening, and thing, and he make an irrational decision that he's going to go through. But of course, Kirk B, he gets out of his restraints and out and about, pretending to be Kirk A. So now him dressed just like Kirk A. So A and B dress the same now, and there's a big confrontation with two of them. Yeah, that's another meme as well. That I don't know if many persons have seen that one. And Spock has to figure out which one is which, and he shoots the one that is not, thing there. So negative Kirk or Kirk B, right? They grab him and they sedate him, take him with Kirk A to the transporter, right? At the same time, Kirk B, they are scream, I want to live, We'll be right back after these messages. Captain's log, stardate unknown. This is the podcast CodeFlix. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new ideas and new perspectives, to boldly discuss what others merely watch. This podcast is not monetized. There are no vast Federation grants funding the voyage, only a passion for storytelling and a crew of listeners willing to journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this transmission, I encourage you to share it with a friend or colleague. Every listen expands our reach. Every follow strengthens the crew. Every comment is a new voice joining the mission. The universe is vast, and there are countless stories waiting to be discovered. So set a course for adventure, engage a signal, and boldly help this podcast go where it has never gone before. End log. I put him in the transporter, and then they do the thing, and then it takes a little while, and they're like, what's happening? Did we just vaporize? Did he just deatomize Kirk and not, he's not coming back? And then he comes back, and he's much stronger in his stand, the way he must stand up and confident, and him step off of the pad, and then him just order them same time for have the landing party beamed aboard immediately, right? And they're beamed aboard, Sulu and the others, and they are badly frostbitten, but them alive, they will make it. So of course, Janice again, she's like, the imposter said something, and him cut her off, like if I say, no, that's fine. It might have some interesting qualities, wouldn't you say? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Episode 6, Mod's Woman. So, beautiful ladies are being aboard the Enterprise. They turn out to be using a drug that keeps them that way, right? Wow. So, the episode starts out with the Enterprise encountering this ship, right? And, they might try to figure out what's going on with the ship, because the ship a move, it a move away, you see me? It ends up being destroyed, right? Its engines get overloaded, I guess, because they might try to run away from the Enterprise and thing, or if you run away from your little tugboat, I go run away from one Enterprise class, ship, right? So Harry Mudd, right? He might give you a fake name initially, right? Because them beam them aboard, they beam him aboard and thing from the craft and thing, and them said that them find mostly 3 other individuals on the ship and thing, and them beam those 3 other individuals from the ship, and it turns out to be some beautiful ladies, right? 3 beautiful ladies. Now, Harriman describes them as his cargo, right? McCoy is there in the transporter room at the time, and Scotty is there, and McCoy is like, "Yo, amen to that, Scotty. They are beautiful," right? And so, even the Captain Kirk is, enamorized by them, enamored by the ladies, because when they present themselves there, I'm saying, in turn on, like you must say, what you guys up to, what I'm saying, and thing, and when him look around, him sees the ladies, and him stop mid-sentence. And that's why, we say that they are his cargo, because Mud himself said they are his cargo. Now, them have a whole inquiry because, of this, because him apparently was doing something foolish, right? And, you know what I'm saying? He never have the explanation for, no proper explanation for what he was doing, right? And I say how, him have it out for the captain and crew and with him that do and stuff, right? So they were on their way to Rigel system, right? To one of the planets them. It's a mining colony. And of course, Mud, being in the business of selling cargo, right? They would not play in this time now, because of our wokeness. But yeah, what I'm saying, like, this is a serious thing right here. So Mud basically gets the miners them, right? 3 of them for the 3 woman, right? So well, we get a little preview of the mystery of the woman, right? Why they are so beautiful. It turns out to be drugs, guys. Don't do drugs, not even to make you look beautiful. So these ladies, they have been under the influence of some drug that makes them very, very beautiful, right? And it makes them irresistible to men, right? So one of the girls, them, she you know, as she's basically grown very weary and tired of taking this drug every time, every so often, that him have to take the drug. You know, the other two, they were like, no man, me no business, me I take the drug because it don't make me beautiful, and you know what I'm saying? People love that and right? There was this whole thing of them of Mud trying to seduce Kirk, and that is why it led him now to decide say him done with Kirk because Kirk nah take to him want, you know what I'm saying, and how he want it and thing, right? So because he want to control the starship, he might look for control the Enterprise, right? They end up going to the miners. Now the miners coming on board first and examining the cargo, right? And concluding say, yes, we have a deal, Mr. Mudd. Without Kirk's permission or knowledge. And he's like, yo, what going on here, so? Anyways, they go to the mining colony and the girl, they might enjoy the girl, them and they might dance and thing or whatever. The same girl that I was mentioning that she decides that she stopped with this thing now. She realizing say them just want her for the beauty and thing. She decides that she gonna run out onto the planet's surface. You know what I'm saying? In the middle of what it seems to be some kind of dust storm, right? One of the miners, him go after her, and the two of them end up being marooned in a particular area. When her drug wears off and she start look ugly, the guy was wondering who it is that he rescued. Who's this? We don't know the woman, and the woman that look ugly. You know what I'm saying? And you be rescued. I thought I rescued somebody beautiful. So, nonetheless, Kirk and the rest of the crew then catch up to them, and Harry Mudd, the dear and Mudd is like, trying to, keep things going same way. But the man is like, no, I mean, I want this. Deal is off and everything. But Captain Kirk remind him, say, hey, listen, the other two man them get what they want, right? So then my business about you and where you don't get. So he's like, me now go with this woman because obviously it's not what I expected. So they find out, say, well, they had known that the drug was, being used. So they switch it out for a placebo, right? And the woman get upset with the man for say, boy, but me cook for you, right? And thing, and you don't want that. But you want pretty woman. All right, then you want pretty woman, me go take a drug, and she takes the drug, right? Now Mud try to stop her. We see him try to stop her, but Kirk is like, let her do it. You understand? And I was wondering why, you know what I'm saying, he was allowing her to do it. Only if you find out, say, because she take the drug now, and it appears to make her beautiful again. But the shoe drop when we find out, say, it was just a colored gelatin, right? Gelatin, like jelly. Yeah. So that was all due. That beauty that she was showing was her own self-confidence. Message. So that was the message of the episode. It was basically saying, don't do drugs, kid, because even if you feel like it's going to enhance you, you yourself have the power within you to be beautiful. Right? So, of course, the man is like, all right, yeah, we work with this. That's the look he gave, More things set him out of, harm's way. But Kirk said, listen, I'll take you to trial, right? And they'll throw away the key. You know what I'm saying? That's what Bud comments on. Yeah. Episode 7. What are little girls made of? So, Dr. Corby is a scientist who discovers a way to cheat death by transferring his consciousness into a machine. So, Dr. Corby is the renowned exobiologist, right? And his fiancee, Nurse Chapel, right, who is on board the Enterprise as a crew member, they visit icy planet of Exo 3. That's where he would have been working on, a few projects, research and such, right? So, of course, the captain and nurse chapel, they attend, right? They're in attendance. So they have to live underground because the planet is icy, right? It's an icy planet and thing, right? Then if you find out, say, him alive and everything and whatever, right? When they go, there is some series of very unfortunate events, right? One of the inhabitants, I guess, right, the person who was there with Dr. Corby, him fall off a cliff, right? But we get to see say something inhuman looking was there watching, right? Yeah. Corby reunites with Nurse Chapel, right? Then give her a nice kiss on the lips, and then embrace and everything, right? The captain meets this young woman who apparently is named Andrea, right? She'll wear one very revealing outfit, blue and green dress, Mm-hmm. So, say that kind of, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, when he meet Dr. Corby, right, him seem very friendly, you know what I'm saying? And he must say, Kirk tell him, say, yo, something weird a go on and thing and rare, and him like, me go explain and thing and rare. And he takes him, right, the same inhuman looking thing that we saw appears to be an android, and we get to find out that Andrea is also an android, right? And they took Kirk basically hostage, mimicking him voice, right? The android is able to mimic voices, so it mimic the voice, communicate with Spock, and tell him, say, now nothing for concern about, and we'll have a routine check-in time. I go call you back, communicate with you and thing, right? And all of this is done, and we not see why he might do all these things yet, right? So we get to find out, say, him intend for use Captain Kirk to get one of his androids on board the USS Enterprise. And how I'm going to do that? Him duplicate the form of Captain Kirk onto this android, right? So the android them help him to basically start up the machine and get everything running and thing, right? And it duplicates him very good, right? I won't sing perfectly because later on we'll see why, right? So the duplicated Kirk ends up talking with Nurse Chapel. And Nurse Chapel realized that she had talked to the duplicant because he sound just like him and, mannerism and everything. Now, the Android version goes onto the Enterprise, and when he go up there, Spock intercept him. I wonder, what's up, Nina and thing. And him said to him, say, mind your own business, Mr. Spock. I'm sick of your half-breed inference. Do you hear? And he repeat it because it's a memory that the captain planted just as it was being duplicated, right? So it was something that would help now Spock to realize there's something up, later on that helps, right? So Captain Kirk now him find a way if he get out and thing, him trick one of the androids them, right? Because they share a kiss, right? And it's only because they were testing stuff and all sort of something was going on, right? So him show Kirby with a card, right? Dr. Kirby. and he run off, right? Now the android run off him now and thing, and a call off him in a device a nurse chopper. So in thinks say because device sound like a nurse chopper and gets trapped, right? However, he's able to convince the android that because him start asking android some question, because the android was there from before Dr. Kirby, and the inhabitants would have left it and thing, and so it figure out say it not have any allegiance to Kirby. Again, Spock try to inquire of Kirk, the android Kirk, and it repeat the same thing. Mind your own business, Mr. Spock. I'm sick of your half-breed inference. Do you hear? So right after that, the android just go back to being pleasant and I talk to him, say, you all right, Spock? So him know say something definitely are going on. So inform a security team and then prepare for beam down, right? Because they believe Kirk is trapped on the ship, right? The real Kirk. Now Kirk again he asks the android Andrea to kiss him, right? And that scrambles her memory. So till she go off and she meet up with the android Kirk, and it says something to her, and she just shoot him with the phaser and kill him. Yeah. There is a scuffle between Kirk and Corby, right? Because, they're trying to get away and stuff. And the android comes in and shoots and exposes Kirby's hand, right? I say Kirby, well, it's Corby's hand. And it is an android hand. And thus, we get to understand that he has been an android for a good long while, right? That Kirk was able to break him, you know, as well. It's like he never ever realized to himself that he was an android because the original Corby died, Dr. Corby, and he is just a reflection or just a mere shadow of what the man was. So Dr. Kirby was never here. That's what Kirk replies to Spock when Spock team arrive. Cause them they beam down and thing, as I mentioned before. Yeah. Episode 8. Miri. So kids rule when adults get the disease and they start to behave very irrationally. Right? And you might notice there's a theme with the way how most of these episodes are composed, the core of the story. So the episode starts off with the crew of the Enterprise coming up on a planet that looks eerily similar to how planet Earth would have looked like, right? And I must add, it would look like at the time because remember, Star Trek is storied in the future, right? It's a story about in the future, way off, what I'm saying, in the how much century in our future, and we are expected to believe that the Earth would not have changed shape. But we're not throwing no shade on that too much, right? So, of course, their curiosity gets the better of them. So they enter the orbit and they beam down, right? The landing party includes Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Janice. You remember Janice? Yeah. Along with some science officers like Galloway and Field. But we're not busy about them too, because they were dead, right? That's how these episodes are composed. They've usually put one or two, non-main characters on the landing party sometime, and they end up dying or if they don't die, they just fall into the background. You don't need to know much about them. Anyways, Kirk, while exploring and they find out that the place is deserted, right? We can see it look like one normal old town, but it's deserted, and we see things overturned. We see it almost like a disaster, like a storm went through the place, right? Now Kirk finds this young woman who was hiding basically in a closet, right? And Janice is with him, and she sees all of this happening. Now Spock and Galloway and Fields them search the rest of the ruins, right? And then them start to hear what they think is the sound of children. They're singing, na 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 na. And I mean, this episode is very annoying because what? You're gonna hear a lot of that throughout the episode, right? So if you've watched it, yeah, you would know what I mean. So after then talk to Miri, that's the name of the little girl, the young girl, sorry. All right, because she old enough, you could say she's probably like teenage years, right? Now, what I don't like is that this episode makes Captain Kirk really look like, yo, this is a pedo. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a girl, right? And you don't know her age really. And yeah, there is too much of that flirtation energy again, right? Although he's trying to get information out of her, and she's not willing to forthcome with certain things, and we find out later why, you know. But she basically tells them that, there are no adults, and the supposed adults, right? Because Kirk gets overtaken by one of them that looks very malformed and frankly ugly. Look like one creature from another dimension. But we get to find out that that is a human being again, right? It's a human planet, right? I forgot to mention that. I did, assume that you would know exactly what I'm talking about. But the fact say you have these grown-ups, them call them grups, right? They have become ill and insane. So them start move very insane. So once them start get ill, them start get insane, right? And the the kids, right, the onlys, they hide from them, right, until they drops them dead, right? So that is the whole premise of that. Now, the onlys are led by a group, a youth named John, right? And now John is this older kid, almost this probably the same age as Mary, that seems to be able to have sway with the children, right? He's probably one of the oldest them right there, right? And we see him basically talking with the kids them and conspire because they don't trust the groups and they are calling Kirk and him team groups and thing, right? Spock is doing his normal calculations that Mary probably have a couple months, right, or less to live, right? Because there is this kind of disease that them detect, right? And they have recognized that they all have it now, right? That is, the landing party contracted it. So, they might try to figure out what they need to do. John orders the kids them to go and basically distract them. So while they were distracted, the communicators were stolen, right? They took them, and that's I gonna stop them from proceed with investigating it because McCoy a complaint say he need the ship's computers in order to investigate this virus, right? In order to create a vaccine. So, you know, everybody start the landing party them start looking even wearier, you know, nerves get frayed and tempers shot and all sort of something are going on now, right? That, you know, even Miri is afraid of Kirk now. You understand? Now, Janice, she start to take down ill with it now and thing, and she a confessed to Kirk say many times, while she was aboard the Enterprise, she would, do everything to try and get Kirk to notice her, right? And I'm just kind of nicing it up because she said something else which was a little bit what I think, just kind of, you know what I'm saying? But that is what I got from it. So, of course, Mary, she wants Kirk attention more and she feel like, say, Janice a take this. So she jealous. So what she do? She go to Jan, right? You remember Jan? Because she knows about the kids and she, is one of them. So she goes to him and thing and tell them, say, she want their help to ensure that she get her Kirk, right? For herself. You understand? And what they need for do. So of course, it comes down to the facts where they basically take Janice, right? And Kirk have to go and rescue her, you know what I'm saying? I try to get her out of it. Not knowing say thing there because Miri, confess now, after she see what she do and after I explain to her say you not going to last long because you're accelerating and with your disease, so you need to help me so that I can get my team on the vaccine because you're not gonna last long. So she relents and she said, all right, she carry him to where Janice is, right? Of course it wasn't easy because when a bunch of kids surround you and I make noise and I want to hear where you say na 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 and you try to explain as the adult in the room. It's not nice. Yeah, it's not easy. So, I don't know, Kirk does it though. He's able to he's able to, you know, with the help of Miri, because Miri starts to kind of let the kids know, hey, listen, a true matter and she show them, say the spots them on my hand, on my body, this is happening to us, you know what I'm saying? That will happen to you, and if it don't, even if it don't happen to the little ones, them, they're gonna be left behind and all the food supply going run out soon because apparently this happened not too long ago. You know what I'm saying? Not too long ago, this whole disaster happened. So of course they're able to get Janice out there, and by the time they got back, because Dr. McCoy and Spock they were both looking at ways how them can figure out this thing, try to figure out what they need to do in order to get this vaccine to work without the help of the computers. And Dr. McCoy get angry because him feel like say him can test it on himself and it will work. So when Spock is not looking, him inject himself, right? With it, a beaker full of death. And the doctor screams out in agony and then collapse. So them dead here and with him and thing and then them say, wait, look at his face. He's getting better. So he take a chance on it. Yeah. He took a chance on it and he survived and they were able to vaccinate the rest. Then plan for sending teams to the planet to help the people them man. Yeah. Quite an episode, right? Quite an episode. Episode 9, Dagger of the Mind. So a neuralizer is used to wipe person's memory on a penal colony, allowing them to be very pliable to anything. So you can tell them, say, that they are a chicken and they believe that they're a chicken, right? In Captain Kirk's case, he gets told that he's madly in love with a woman and he might have daydreams about all of the things that he wants to do with said woman. So the episode starts out quite interestingly with the transporter room where they are receiving a package from a penal colony, right? So them the Enterprise there and them are receive something from there and thing. Now this package, unbeknownst to the Enterprise, it contains a man, right, who is described as escaping the penal colony, right? Cause then call up to them and tell them, say, them have this man, right? Doctor Dr. McCoy has been called in to basically see what's up with the man, and thing, and you know, it turns out that this man is actually the one who founded. He's a doctor that founded the Tantalus Penal Colony, and it has been praised as one of the best institutions because they know how to deal with inmates, in a humane and just way. That's what it is being described as, right? So when they get to realize, say, that this is the man, right, that has been there. Even the person who is from the penal colony was like, when I deny it, yes, it's him. Is Dr. Van Gelder, right? That's his name. The circumstances, however, kind of sound suspicious. So, McCoy and Kirk, they must say, let's look into this thing, something not sound too right or so. So McCoy suggests that Kirk take with him one psychiatrist, Dr. Ellen Noel. Now, Kirk and Helen have a thing, right? Or had a thing at some point, some history they had, right? And how we know is that Helen not stop reminding him from she going on the transporter till she go up on the planet. At every turn, she remind him and thing, and you know what I'm saying? How they were previously acquainted, right? And she's there to basically give expertise on the whole operations in the psychiatry behind it and stuff and whatever. Now the man where lead it, right? Apparently he seems very relaxed, as if boy nothing not going on, so let us just talk normal and stuff and thing. And you can talk to your team, Captain. I will be outside. I have something else to do and in gone and out in business and thing. In the course of their investigation of the penal colony, they find the device that Dr. Van Gelder reports that was used on him, without his permission, I guess, to stop him from remembering, right? And it also affected him in such a way to make him seem like him is a madman, because Dr. Van Gelder behaved like a raging madman, and this is why the psychiatrist was necessary for all of this, right? So, of course, Kirk wants to find out how this thing works. Him asks the technician who are working neuralize a machine, and him tell him how it work and thing, and he say, all right, but he wasn't totally, convinced of that. You can see on his face that's him. And he, I talk to Dr. Noel, and she is, just completely. I don't think it was very professional the way she behaved, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? Cause she's seems to want to find out more about why is it that Kirk and her, their thing never lasted or something. You know what I'm saying? So in communication with the Enterprise, him find out say, boy, Dr. Van Gelder say, oh, the other machine that caused the problem and thing. And Kirk say, yeah, me want test it out and me go stay the night. And him say it when Van Gelder here, Van Gelder is like, no, don't allow them to stay. And I thought that would be like, yo, put a brakes on this, make we come back with some more people or something. But no, Kirk proceeds to go and test it on himself, right? With the help of Dr. Helen Noel, right? Who goes in there, right? And at first it's a harmless suggestion. She suggests to him something, and like, oh, it was to see if him would be hungry, and him come out of it saying, yeah, I'm hungry now and thing and whatever. And he's like, yeah, I suggest that. I mean, you do that a while ago. And he's like, him not convinced. So she must do something else. So my lady decide though, so she going to ask him what was his thoughts on the night when time they did meet and thing, and at the Christmas party, and you know and thing. Suddenly Kirk start to envision all of this now, right? He's still in the room same way and thing. And of course, in comes Dr. Adams, who surprises them and him assistant, restrain Dr. Noel, and he begin to use the device for condition Kirk, right? And I'll suggest to him that him desperately in love with Dr. Noel, and he must what him would have do if him not have her and all of these things. Apparently Kirk realized, say, yo, something not right, and through all of this, he might fight against it, He succumbs after a while still, and awakens in one of the room them with Dr. Helen over him. I'm saying that, make sure say, all right, she check him out and thing. And she try to convince him, and I try to tell him, say, listen, them suggest that to you and things. So, Ray, and him say, yes, him remember. And he seems to be fighting against it, struggling against his feelings for her and what he needs to do next. So him tell herself crawl through the vent space and get to where the power of the machine is being, thing there, and lock it off. So she goes and she does just as that, and Spock them realize, say, yo, something not going, because the force field is down, right? Because without the force field in place, they are not able to communicate freely as well as to beam down, right? Because they couldn't just beam down to the planet. Obviously, it's a penal colony, right? You want to protect, people from just beaming into the penal colony. So when Dr. Adams put Kirk back in a chair now, and I try for thing there, the power goes off while that was going on. So Adams now, run into the room, and Kirk knock him down, right? Knock him down flat and knock down him assistant in our room. Now him there in the rear of the machine there, right underneath the rear of the machine. So Spock them come now and totally disable the power or whatever it is in the same room that Dr. Noel was doing that, and help her to escape. By the time them come back, Dr. Adams' brain is mush because the machine came back on while they were out, and with nobody there to guide the thing, it just basically just drilled into his brain like that, because it's like it's sending rays into his brain, I guess, and it just turns it into mush. So he died with no thought in his brain. That's how McCoy, hard to believe that a man can die alone, yeah. And Kirk tell him, say, not when you have sat in that room. Yeah. Episode 10, The Corbomite Maneuver. So the Enterprise makes contact with an alien that seems to have advanced intelligence and circumstances, who puts the Enterprise to the test. So the episode starts off where we see the Enterprise coming up on this weird object in space, right? They are flying normally, and them just see this weird cuboid object that, seems to spin, for persons who are familiar with like 3D graphics, like early 3D graphics kind of thing. Yeah, that's what it looks like, some CGI thing. right? This mysterious object blocks their path. It won't allow them to pass, to go anywhere. So they must steer, they must try to steer around it and all sort of something. Sulu declare red alert and thing. Chief Navigator Dave, I say, yo, we need to blow this thing out of the sky now, right? Yeah. All of this is happening while Captain Kirk is doing his medical physical examinations, right? So when him hear about this now, from the bridge, and basically tell him say, yo, man, I forgot change first and thing. Now Mackay have some words where I have to stay, and sometimes I have to kind of just, sit back and just think about them. There is this one, right, where he says, what am I, a doctor or moon shuttle conductor? If I jumped every time light came on here, I'd end up talking to myself. And this was him talking to Kirk because Kirk had said, so why you never tell me, say, one red alert come up so we could go and see him? So, like, if me tell everybody, basically, me would have just sit down here so by myself because there's always something to do. That's essentially what he's saying, right? The captain does his captain's log. And one of the things is that most of the times with the Stargate series, we hear a voiceover of the captain's log, and we don't necessarily see them doing it. But I think this is one of the episodes where you're actually seeing him sitting in the chair making the recording. Captain's log, stardate 1513.8. So that is where it just came home like, yeah, this is what he's doing. He's just doing it like that. I didn't truly appreciate it until after I've watched it, couple time and see, yeah. So Kirk, said, boy, we need to convene, we need to figure out how we're going to proceed because we can't pass this thing and whatever, right? So eventually them say, boy, we just have to just fire phasers on it, right? Bailey sit down there and hesitate, but Kirk repeat and say, we need to fire phasers and thing, and eventually Sulu have to step in and they destroy the cube, right? So now with the cube destroyed, of course, they might try to move forward and thing now and thing, but then there's another thing that comes up again. Now this is a spherical shaped thing, and it kind of look like one of those buckley balls. Most of the persons who do science know what I'm talking about, right? The buckley ball, or that thing that looks, it's a representation of an atom kind of thing, and it has many different spherical objects within the sphere, around it, the circumference of the sphere. So because of their reaction, Kirk ordered that they run some simulations and test out them thing, get themselves more alacrity, when they deliver order, it need to be, done. So when them come upon the object, as I mentioned before, of course, this time they are like, yo, this look like something going on. And so this thing kind of have them even more because it's a massive object, right? And they can't pass it, and it just stand up in them way. Now they do a ship-to-ship communication, and they get this alien-looking thing, and at first it looked like the mouth that move, but then after I watch it again, I realize, mouth never move. It's just the way how them kind of make the video kind of look. It wasn't moving, and there's a reason for that, because it is basically not real, right? So them get to see the image of it and thing, and them must say, boy, them wonder what go on, No. It tell them, say, listen, you need to prepare for that because we're going to take you out. You know what I'm saying? And you have how much Earth minutes, you know what I'm saying? Now, Kirk decides that he's going to bluff the alien, right? Because, I'm now have no other card for play, right? Them can't move on, right? Something wrong with the ship, So he comes up with a corbomite thing, right? This thing called corbomite. And him say, you scan the ship records and thing, but you're not gonna find that because, and him give an explanation to say, carbonite is gonna destroy both of us, mutual assured destruction, basically. If you will proceed to try and destroy us. So you must know what you're gonna do. Right? So after, going through that, and it seemed like, Bela nah pay them no mind at one point, but then at the last moment decides that they're going to just use one object from off of the big spherous object and use that. So it takes a hold of the Enterprise using tractor beam and proceeds to take it to a location where they're going to destroy the Enterprise. So, of course, nobody don't want to get destroyed, right? Kirk decides, boy, we need to find a way to get loose from this tractor beam and thing. And so them struggle, them find a way to get free, because they must say there's some weakening in the tractor beam, and it will put pressure upon the ship engine for the, for Baylock. And basically that, caused the ship to stop pulling them and the tractor beam to disengage, and the Enterprise is free. So realizing so that they might have, dealt a death blow to the ship, and from, them monitoring communications, and realize that the ship not have enough power to put out a full distress signal and it won't get far. They decide that they're going to go over to the ship, because them still are, Kirk, still not a bad guy, right? He's looking to see if he can help. They have been told that, hey, listen, when we transport you over, that is the crew. I said I'm gonna transport over Kirk and McCoy, right? And Bailey, because Bailey joined them so that he can see, right? That over there is very cramped, and so them have to bend down, basically, right? With them reach inside of the ship, they find themselves in a place. Them see the puppet, the same alien that they were seeing on on the view screen. Yeah, it's a puppet, right? And they hear one laughter. And when you look, you see it is a very short man, right? That kind of look baby like. And he laughs and laughs and laughs. And tell them, say, that puppet over there basically is my alter ego, and thing. And it may use for test, because all of this is a test. Everything from the moment that come there and destroy the cube to the all of that was a test. And everybody was so amused. They were laughing because, I'm saying, all of this, them got through. All of them got through a while ago. Yeah, with their heart in their hand. Yeah, man. All of that was a test. Yeah. And he, asked them for join him. Because he not have much visitors, So he asked them for join him, for have a drink and thing. And he go show them the sign ship. Aye.
That's it for part 1 of our podcast episode on Star Trek Season 1. In Part 2, we'll continue with episode 11 to 20, and how they drive the story forward. See you in the next part.
That brings us to the end of this episode. Our voyage through the universe of sci-fi television continues, and the next destination is 2,000 downloads. Your support means everything. Stay engaged, share your thought, and let's keep this journey alive. Until next time, stay curious. This content is CAN credentialed, which means you can report instances of harassment, abuse, or other harm on their hotline at 617-249-4255 or on their website at creatoraccountabilitynetwork.org.